And we are live. I would like to warn everybody listening. We do have a content advisory warning because this episode might be touchy to some. We are going to be discussing Quiet on Set, the documentary, The Dark Side of Kids TV, which we're going to have to actually do a part 2 because April 7th they announced part 5 of the series called Breaking the Silence. Who knows what else they're going to cover or who else is going to come forward. There is also a channel I would like to shout out. Her name is Alexa. She was in Zoe 101. She has been talking out on this for years, and she was part of the documentary. She has her own series called Eat Predators, I believe is what it's called. Great channel. Let's dive into it. And I don't really want to just talk about Nickelodeon, even though that's what this episode is. It's about Quiet on Set. But I'd like to dive through other allegations and other things that have come forward in the past with other networks and just Hollywood in general, and kind of talk about the future of this. People coming forward and doing docuseries like this. Your dog is adorable, by the way.
I know.
But I want everyone to know, and this is a public service announcement, these are opinions and allegations only. All of the opinions and allegations that are discussed in this episode are based on the personal experience and perspectives of the actors or the employees that spoke on the dark side of kids TV, Quiet on Set. But also, more has come forward as the documentary came out. So we're going to kind of discuss that. We're going to discuss some opinions that have came out, some things that have come out, possible allegations. That's all these are. So make your own opinions and don't go after anyone that has opposing opinions or even the people that are these allegations are against, because we don't know at this point what they're guilty of. But I will say, from what I've seen, Dan Schneider's a gross fucking pig. And also from even if he's not guilty of essaying children, he's still gross for having children do sexually explicit things on children's TV shows. That is fucking disgusting, and he has openly admitted to mistreating his staff because he released an apology video recently. I don't know if you saw that shit or not, but yeah. No, it's
he was having them massage him.
Yes,
on
writers.
set.
He was having writers massage him on set, and allegedly he had Amanda Bynes do it as well. He is a gross fucking human.
Yeah.
Or at least his behavior is very fucking gross. Now, his excuse when he came forward recently was, I was a young producer at the time. I didn't know better. Now,
What an idiot.
he was my age when he was doing this shit. Like, you're not young. You're still young, but you're not young, too young to not know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
Like, you're still around children. Like, and you're doing this shit towards children. Like, it's not okay that you're doing this. And for those of you wondering what did he do, I will gladly tell you all. Give me 1 second. I got to edit my post on Facebook because for some reason Facebook has set all my lives to being for only me. So for everybody on Facebook just now tuning in, hi. I don't know why Facebook is censoring this, but whatever. I just changed it so you guys can see. But yeah, it's just nuts to me, this documentary. But let's kind of dive into it, shall we? That looks kind of bad, Pink. You're like all down here, like. I know you're drinking a drink. It looked weird, but.
And then do you go with the noise effect of.
Now, the thing that is disheartening, and all of it is gross, all of it's disheartening. But the fact that there's so many former child actors and even current ones that can't come forward and talk about it because of it, they signed NDA forms.
Yeah.
Or they're contractually obligated not to. So who's to say this shit is not going on at Nickelodeon right now?
Or Disney or
Or
anywhere like that.
Disney's next. I have a feeling Disney's fucking next.
Yeah.
Like Disney's going to get exposed next, and all these companies are going to try to pay people out. And that's what happened recently. Josh Peck accepted hush money from Nickelodeon, and that's why he hasn't spoken out. And his wife is filing divorce right now, allegedly, due to him accepting hush money. Brian Peck. Now, Dan's a gross person, but Brian Peck is a completely different fucking beast, and he's a monster. Brian Peck only did 16 months for what he did to Drake Bell.
Really?
And he went on to continue to work.
Right. Yeah. And he worked for Disney a little bit, didn't he?
The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. Now, he was not around the children, luckily. Thank God he wasn't around the children. But he played a magic mirror on the wall, which is really creepy knowing what he pled. Well, he didn't plead guilty. He pled no contest. But what he admitted to, because he admitted in a phone call that he did all that shit. He was a mirror, and it's creepy to think a mirror watching children is voiced by a PDF file. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, and also he played a clown in some of the episodes. Like one of the episodes of a Nickelodeon show before he was found guilty of that shit. Like, what? Like, it's creepy shit. And the dude wasn't the only creep working at Nickelodeon. There was 3 or 4 of them at Nickelodeon. And what's even more bizarre is Nickelodeon's not the only ones. Disney released 2 or 3 movies done by Victor Salva. Now, if you're unfamiliar with who Victor Salva is, Victor Salva, I believe, also employed Brian Peck. Victor Salva got arrested in 1980. My years might be messed up, so you'd have to do your own research, but it was like the 80s. It was like 1988, I believe. He was arrested after his movie Clown House came out because he assaulted a 12-year-old who was an actress or an actor. I don't know the sex of the child, but he assaulted a child that was in his movie, and he pled guilty. And he did time. And then he later on, now it's time to blow your mind, he later on directed and wrote Jeepers Creepers, the popular horror movie.
Yeah.
Fucked up. But he also directed Disney movies, a couple of them. Hi, what's up, Linda? Parental advisory. Today's episode is kind of a touchy subject. We were talking about these fucked up people in Hollywood. And right now, Nickelodeon is the one that has been exposed. No, they're claiming negligence from what I've seen at Nickelodeon. They're claiming we didn't know, we didn't do background checks on. Dan Schneider said, I never hired Brian Peck. This person did, Brian Robbins. When in reality, yes, Brian Robbins initially hired him, but Dan Schneider hired him on all that.
Yeah.
And all that's creepy too. Did you hear about the recent shit that came out about all that? Remember when all that used to have musical guests? Were you watching Nickelodeon at that time when all that was huge?
No.
Well, they would have musical.
I'm too old.
Well, they would have musical guests.
Okay.
And do research, guys. Do your own research. This is my opinion only. There was a musical guest in the 90s by the name of P. Diddy. Yes, that P. Diddy. The one that just got raided for allegedly grooming children and all that other shit. Running a sex trafficking ring. I don't know exactly what he was doing, but he was doing shady shit over there. Well, it's kind of weird that with everything coming out with Nickelodeon and their abuse of children and staff, P. Diddy was on the show.
Yeah.
And in that episode, it was very bizarre because there was a scene where they said, we can't wake our friend up. And Diddy's like, well, did you try this? Or did you try this? Or did you try this? And they're like, no. He's like, all right. And he handed him a toy airplane and said, put this in his pants. Yeah,
Weird.
it was bizarre. It was bizarre as fuck, but like at the time, maybe it was a funny joke. But then he turned it on and you heard a child screaming in the background. Yeah. So I wonder if Diddy and Nickelodeon were connected, like
Yeah.
Dan and Nick. Now, allegedly, I'm just going to say this is alleged. Amanda Bynes, who hasn't come forward yet, and I don't expect her to, nobody is obligated to come forward. That is your own story to tell. That is your own pain to bear. And if you can't go public with it, that's fine. Personally, I would want the world to know what kind of a sick monster this person is, especially with everybody else coming forward, but you don't know. But allegedly, Amanda Bynes was impregnated when she was 14 years old.
Wow.
Allegedly. And it is also alleged that Amanda Bynes got an abortion and the network paid for it. Hi, Rex Cat. If you enjoy this show and you enjoy what we talk about, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, any of you guys, and check out usenick.com. I'm also a stand up comedian and podcaster and also do some radio. Now, all of my topics aren't funny, as you can see. Comedians don't always have to be funny. But we're talking about Nickelodeon. We're talking about Dan Schneider. We're talking about Brian Peck. If that's a touchy subject, I apologize. But it's something that needs to be discussed. And but victims can't be silenced. I appreciate you, Rex.
Nice.
It is hard to speak what you went through. It is. It's very hard to speak what you have went through. I've went through my own form of stuff. It wasn't sexual or anything like that, but I've went through forms of abuse. I went through bad bullying in high school and middle school, and it's my story to tell. I haven't went public about the full details, and I'm not sure if I ever will. But it's hard, and
Yeah.
I can only imagine what these kids went through, man, at that age. Can we all agree on something, Pink?
Mm-hmm.
Can we quit having child actors? Can we just do away with that?
Right? That's what I was saying when I was watching this whole thing. I was like, why do we even have kids?
We
Like
have
when
we can
Drake
make
was like, I just wanted to be on stage, and it's like, then do a play in school.
do a
Like
play in school. Like this is basically
that's the
parents.
normal shit
This is
for
parents selling their kids
mm-hmm.
because they couldn't make it.
Yeah.
Like look at not Amanda Bynes, Jeanette McCurdy's mother. Jeanette McCurdy's mother literally sold her for Hollywood, and she thought that was normal. Why do we
Yeah.
need to have child actors? We have cartoons that could be voiced. Children can be voiced in cartoons. I mean, they don't have to be around. And I don't even think kids should be working. That's another red flag. Because how didn't Nickelodeon get hit with child labor laws?
Yeah. Well, and like they said, they're like, oh, we're gonna go over again because Dan Schneider wants us to work overtime.
And we'll
And
keep
it's like,
talking about Dan, but like, why do we need child actors? Children need
yeah,
to be children and have fun, not worry about making fucking money and being famous.
yeah.
Like, fame can come later. Linda, if you've not seen it yet, it is on Maxx. It is called Quiet on Set, and let's cover it since we have people listening. Pink.
Okay.
Now there's a lot of shit that this documentary did not cover. There's a lot of shit because a lot of it's up for debate. A lot of it's allegations, and most of it's allegations at this point. But Dan Schneider was difficult to work with, screamed at the children, and that's not even the beginning. He sexualized children. There was a scene about this character who was a superhero called Noseboy.
Yeah.
His costume looked like two dicks on his fucking shoulders, and he sneezed, and this snot that looked like jizz shot on this kid's face.
Yeah.
Now this could be us. You might say this is us overreaching, but I also something they didn't mention, Pink. This could
Mhm.
also border the line of racism. They didn't mention that. But why did you have the African American kid playing a superhero who has an abnormally large nose?
Yeah.
Like that seemed rather racist to me. Oh no, Linda, we're not done yet. Um, they discussed Dan Schneider about that, but he would make sexually inappropriate jokes to the writers whom were adults. Two of the writers, the only two females, had to share a paycheck. which is, they found out later on, is illegal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Dan Schneider told one of the women, she was telling a story about her youth because they were trying to come up with a funny scenario that the children were going to play. So she was talking about her youth when she was in middle school or whatever. And Dan said, it'd be cute if you leaned over that table and pretended to be sodomized while telling your story. What the fuck? That
Yeah.
is not okay. Like, in a business environment, that's not, no. Like,
Yeah.
and then Dan would have, it got worse. Like, Ariana Grande was sexualized. She was pouring water on herself and pretending she's milking a potato. That made me
Yeah.
so uncomfortable. But then the first two episodes covered Dan Schneider. The last two was very hard to listen to and very hard to watch, and he didn't even go in full graphic detail. Back in the 90s, well, early 2000s, somebody in Nickelodeon came forward as a John Doe and exposed Brian Peck, who is a coach at Nickelodeon, for being a predator. He brutally assaulted this child for, I believe it was 6 months, maybe a year. I'm not sure the full details. Watch the documentary, the full details. But he assaulted this kid, and the kid came forward as Drake Bell.
Yeah.
And
I
it is,
remember watching that kid,
yeah.
like
And
with my
Linda, I
nephew.
know this might be a hard episode to listen to, so I will not judge you for leaving. I know you've went through some of your own shit, but I'm glad that he had the courage to come forward and expose this man. But
Yeah.
this man only did 16 months and continued working. His name is Brian Peck. Look him up on IMDb. But Pink, I was sick to my stomach when I looked up all of the people that still associate with him and still give him a job in Hollywood.
Yeah.
There is a whole list of people that you wouldn't even expect. One of them is Jonah Hill.
Really?
Yes. Now, Jonah Hill allegedly gave him a job for a movie. He wasn't the director of the movie. He had nothing to do with it after the fact, but he allegedly gave
Yeah.
him the job. Look, you'd want to look further into it, but he has some connection with Brian Peck. Jeanette McCurdy wrote a book that touched on a lot of the Nickelodeon shit. She left a lot of it unnamed, but it was very obvious that it was Nick and Schneider. She said the creator. He was the creator of all of her shows.
Yeah.
He sexualized her. Like, he would rub on her and like hug her from behind and be very gross towards her. And yeah, like, I know people that like treat children like their own, and it's okay to like hug a child or whatever if they want to hug you. But to be very creepy like that and rub on them and shit, that is very wrong. Especially
Yeah.
when you're their boss. Like, it's one thing that the child like ran up to you and hugged you and shit and then ran away. It's another to be all creepy on them while they're trying to run away from you. And that's what was happening. There's actually video footage of that in the documentary. Dan
Yeah.
Schneider had a foot fetish too.
Yeah. There was a lot of feet stuff in Nickelodeon.
A lot of feet stuff. And Jeanette McCurdy did not accept hush money. However, allegedly, Ariana Grande did. Allegedly. Nobody knows for certain, but she's not come forward about anything. Now, the one thing I don't want people to do, and I've seen a lot of people do this, and I think it's morally wrong for us to do, is they're demonizing the people that are saying that they didn't witness anything. We all have our own experiences, and that's the thing about predators. They treat certain people differently so that when shit comes out, they look innocent in the eyes of a lot of people.
Yeah.
Now, the way, if something like this happens to a friend of yours or a bunch of people, like, I get one person might have something to gain from this, but a bunch of people, maybe you should wake the fuck up. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And Kenan Thompson recently came forward, of Kenan and Kel, and he said that he didn't witness anything, and people are coming after him, but watch the whole interview. He says that he did not personally witness anything, but he also did not work alongside Dan Schneider. Dan just had his name attached to the show he was on. And also, he has a much sympathy for those who, if they did go through all of this, went through it.
Hmm.
because you can have sympathy for people and not have witnessed anything.
Yeah.
He was also significantly older, Amber said. And he also did not work alongside with, as far as I know, he did not work alongside with Brian Peck. Brian Peck was on an episode of All That, but I don't think Keenan was part of it. Now, the one thing I would love to happen, but it's her story to tell, is the Amanda Bynes, because something
Yeah.
had to have happened to her. I
Mhm.
hope it didn't, but with the way she behaves, I'm afraid something did, especially with Schneider. And it's mentioned in the documentary, Schneider was very close to Amanda, like creepily close. When
That's the
he's,
one that got arrested for smoking weed, right?
yes, I do believe she got arrested for
Yeah.
this.
I was like
She,
that's so funny because it's so legal here
it's so legal
that
now,
it's like,
but
yeah.
also Dan Schneider, and it wasn't mentioned in the documentary, I don't think, but Jeanette McCurdy mentioned it. He would give the kids alcohol on set,
What? Really?
alcohol and
I
drugs.
didn't remember
Yes.
that. Wow.
He did not mention that in his apology, his supposed apology. Did you watch this apology video?
No.
It is scripted. It is done by, I believe his name's Tebow. His stage name is Boogie. He was in, I believe, iCarly. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But this guy, personally, like any other innocent bystander, he did not personally see that side of Dan. He was also significantly older.
Mhm.
Um, and he wanted his side. Now, do I agree with him interviewing Dan? I agree that Dan should come forward, yes, and talk about it. Yes, that's the right thing to do. But he shouldn't apologize on a major platform. And he should apologize to the victims individually if they want to talk to him. Or
But yeah, I was gonna say, to me, he doesn't deserve the chance to apologize.
no, he
He
doesn't, but
doesn't deserve to get that off his chest.
and push them to drink alcohol and push them using second peer pressure. Yeah, he'd push them for with peer pressure and shit. No, you're good, Amber. Interact all you want, dear. We'll just go back to the comment. But he shouldn't have the platform to apologize. However, if we was to give him the platform, let me play the devil's advocate. If we was to give him the platform to apologize, it shouldn't be talking to a guy who didn't witness any of this and just having a blank apology just to have one. You should
Yeah.
invite the people from the documentary or the people that are coming forward onto the podcast with Dan Schneider
Mhm.
and hold him accountable and
Yeah.
allow him then to apologize them face to face. But he didn't have the balls to do that. From my understanding from Alexa's YouTube channel, um, she was fucking mailed an NDA instead of an apology from his
Wow.
lawyer. Like, that's not an apology. That's a, oops, my bad. I want to try to work in Hollywood still.
Yeah.
Like, when all this started coming forward in 2014, 15, 16, whatever it was, yeah, it's been a while. When shit started coming forward and he got fired, he was going to try to get into the adult side of the industry, where he should have been to fucking begin with. But I don't know, because he treated
Oh,
the
I'm
adults like
missing
shit
all
too.
these comments.
Like, it's fucking horrible what this shit happens. And this is unfortunately just the beginning. We saw what happened with Diddy. He got arrested. Like, this is only the
Yeah.
beginning. This isn't just happening at Nickelodeon, folks. What's sad is we've been saying this for years. Like, I've been saying this shit for a decade or more, and I've been the crazy conspiracy theorist. More shit's gonna come forward.
Yeah.
Disney, for instance, is going to be exposed. All of the, like, this shit is falling apart in our front of our eyes, and I am so fucking thankful to be alive to see it. I am very sad. Yes, Corey Feldman did try to warn people, and I believe the next season of Quiet on Set should literally be Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman,
Yeah, I really hope he was gonna be in this.
Corey Feldman, Diddy has not been arrested. He's under investigation, yes, but I don't think he's been arrested. I think he's on the run. But not P. Diddy, Corey Feldman said in an interview that, and these are all allegations said out of his mouth, Michael Jackson was not the predator that Hollywood and the media made him out to be. He was trying to expose Hollywood, and they made him into one, made him look like one. He's around all them children. Them children are talking. Michael knew something. That's why he was outed. He knew shit. That's why he was offed. Why do you think Michael? I don't think Michael ever worked with P. Diddy. I could be mistaken. I don't think he worked with Diddy. He might have a couple times and then found
I
out. And left,
never
but I don't know.
believed that he hurt children.
I didn't either. And if it comes out that he did, I will retract all my statements over the last 20 years or so that he's
Yeah.
innocent. But until then, I believe, my personal opinion is he was trying to expose these people through the children, and he got off as being one of them. So he's no longer fucking able to talk out. They did that shit with Drake Bell. Drake Bell got charges for that kind of shit. And this documentary was put on pause for, as far as my understanding, until it all went away. What up, Carrie? Let me bring you on stage. Did you watch Quiet on Set by chance?
No, not yet. Wanda and I just now returned. See all the color? How come
that looks
YouTube will
awesome.
show you my color, but no other place will? We just came back. Say hello, Wanda.
Hey.
Hey, what up? You look like one of the Ramones right now. I love your hair.
Oh, thank you.
I love it. It looks awesome.
Carrie almost killed me about 7 times on my trip here, by the way.
Okay, we're live on YouTube.
At least it was only 7 times.
Oh, are we? We are live? My bad.
You know, we're talking about Nickelodeon. We're exposing Nickelodeon. Did you watch Quiet on Set?
I know about it. I have not.
There is a 5th episode coming April 7th. Now, what leaves for speculation is the new episode is called Breaking the Silence. Now, Drake Bell came forward, and with the title Breaking the Silence, I wonder what major star is going to come forward.
I don't know. It's a stone's throw apiece. I mean, you're either the molested or the not molested when it comes to whole, or the not molested or what is it? The molested or the molester.
Yeah.
Well, and then, sometimes you're so traumatized, and what people forget is that when you have complex PTSD, that some of this is bred into your mind, that this is natural.
So
what do you
think about the Michael Jackson theory that he was innocent, but they made him out to be one because he was around those kids, and those kids was exposing the
absolutely see that.
I think it had a lot to do with Michael Jackson having control over a lot of people's music.
Yeah,
and what can be played, because they think that was only with Eminem or with, you think Michael Jackson didn't have a hold on some of these people that done everything, and I think P. Diddy might be one of those ones.
Also, if you think about it, Michael was really good friends with Corey Feldman.
Yeah.
And Corey was feeding him who the actual predators were. I believe Michael was offed.
I do. I believe that one.
I don't think that was an accident.
I mean, when you got Candace Owen going, I need to quit doing any more research on this because she found this, and at first even she's the one going, oh, I call BS, this is fake news. And then she's like, oh, this conspiracy is getting wider and wider.
Well, if you do deep dive research on Drake Bell, he was arrested for allegedly being a predator.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Kind of awkward to think because the second he got arrested, all news networks labeled him as a predator instead of allowing the court case to happen. And allegedly, this documentary was in the works during that time, and they had to put a pause on it.
Right. Well, look how they blacklisted Mel Gibson. And you can't tell me that, there are so many different things that we all, as viewers looking in, we go, there is so much shade with whatever story you're saying. But then in the same light, you have to stop and think that the news doesn't tell us the truth, and they only embellish their opinion on the news.
I don't
The
think the news should report on court cases until the people are like evidence is brought forward and people are found guilty.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think no court case should be publicized until the proceedings are done.
Yeah.
And then whatever went on, they can film whatever went on the inside. Everything's private. And then after the thing, if it's, then it's public
Where you run
knowledge.
into problems with that though
See, the
is
thing that I don't like is the fact that we label people guilty without even knowing the facts.
Well,
Like,
see, and that's like my brother-in-law. He is got a 5-year charge of deferred sentence. He for abusive child. Somebody set him up. Somebody um, sent an email to one of his old phones and conveniently knew the email that was attached to one of his old phones
mhm.
that was in his house and had a pornographic porn pornographic picture sent to this home or to this phone, right? Well, he had to pay $25,000 to prove that that email was never opened until the day that the police showed up on the doorstep and said, "We have a warrant to search this house for all electronic devices because we have believed that you have child porn on this." And he's like, "I don't know what you're doing. You know, you're trying to F my life." They Baker Act this poor gentleman. You know what I mean? And then do all this kind of investigation. And then wait until he was released and arrested him at school where he's picking up his white daughter and he's a black man. And then they charged him for all these charges.
So,
But then he still, the only way he could even get a non-guilty fee is pay another 25,000. He already
see,
lost his job. He already got put on every child predator thing and
it's
all this
fucked
stuff.
up. It's fucked up because the even the court system's a money game. Like I have a relative. I'm not gonna say his name. I'm not gonna say who he is. Whatever.
No.
But
You know exactly.
he was arrested and he allegedly assaulted sexually somebody, supposedly.
Mhm.
Well, he knew he was an innocent man, but the court said, well, if you don't plead guilty, you're going to serve 20 years. If you
Right.
plead guilty, you're going to only do like 4 or 5. And he's like, what if what if they find the guy? They're like, that's not whatever. So he pled guilty because of the plea bargain, and they found the guy a couple months later, and the dude served 20 years, and he continued his 5-year sentence because he pled guilty.
Because he pled. It's just like a lot of people go, "Well, I'll plead no contest," not knowing that when you plead no contest, that you admit a guilt.
Yep.
It's admitting guilt.
But what's
All
messed
right.
up though is you serve less time. That's what happened with Brian Peck. Brian Peck assaulted and did all kinds of unquestionable, like unspeakable, not unquestionable, unspeakable things to Drake Bell and admitted to it in a phone call. He pled no guilty, did 16 months, and went back to Hollywood.
Well, what's crap is why this person that I know got banished everywhere that he's this, and this about child pornography. He proved in court, okay, because that the warrant said that they had somebody call in and said that they knowingly knew that this person had pornography on their phone. So it was a call in to the sheriffs or whoever, whatever. You know, they did their job, they did their due diligence, they issue a warrant, they search the house, they take all the electronics are clean except for one, and this one does have explicit pictures, but he had to pay $25, 25,000 to have a private investigator investigate and find out that that email was opened by the police. So
So the police should be
who
arrested.
as somebody and whoever called in should be arrested, because whoever did the anonymous call, they need to be looking at, because that person that did the anonymous call obviously knew where the phone was, knew the email listed on the phone.
So
You
they
know,
have the video, the picture.
I have so much shade. Oh, the pictures were vile from what I heard from the police report. It was vile.
No, I'm
You
saying
know,
the person that called probably had the picture themselves because they're the ones that sent it.
right. I truly believe that as well. But we'll never be able to prove that. And he just took the charge because, he didn't have another 25,000 to prove his innocence.
Here's another thing, and this isn't about Nickelodeon or what we're
Mm.
talking about, but it's similar. Chris Cornell and Chester Bennington, who is the singer of Linkin Park, their death was very allegedly anonymous, like very like creepy and airy. Chris Cornell passed away, and he was threatening to expose this whole ring in Hollywood. And then Chester was part of that group allegedly. Now Chester died on Chris Cornell's birthday that year, after Chris had passed, and a lot of people think that they were offed. Now my question is though, is Cat Williams has been talking about this shit for years. Why is he still around?
Okay. Because it's easy to say he's crazy.
Sure, because they've been saying he's a drug addict and shit lately because of everything he's
It's
been saying.
easy okay, so look at me. I am a child from childhood traumas. Just, I was not sex trafficked, but I was. My grandfather, that wasn't my grandfather,
Mhm.
decided he was going to teach us what men did to women. Okay. And even though he didn't go all the way to full penetration, he did enough.
Yeah, it's bad
You know
enough.
what I mean? And then some of no, I can't say that he didn't go even further with my sisters. That's all their stories.
Hmm.
And it's wrong. And then when I finally was, I think I was 10 years old when I finally told, and then I was chastised about why would I make up stories like that. And then my dad beat him up, and then they just think that the next day they just start going back and drinking beer and everything's honky dory. And when my mom died and I brought it up, my dad's like, "Why do you keep bringing this up? I beat him up. I took care of it." I said, "You didn't take care of nothing. You
Yeah,
just
the
made sure."
trauma's still there.
I said, he still come over. You still allowed him to come over. You would leave him alone with us, you know, all kinds of stuff. And finally, my other sister, she finally spoke up because she was there when I was arguing. And then when he was arguing back, that he put a stop to it. And my sister, for the first time, looked at him and says, "No, you didn't, Dad." You know, and then he had to go back to Oklahoma and talk to my other sister and go, and she told him, it's like, but all my life I was chastised about being the drug addict, and because I was the one always throwing it, I'd be like, "You crazy MF child must," because you're mad at the
You
world,
you know
and you
what's
don't know how to
interesting?
express that.
You know what's interesting about what you're saying, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No, go right ahead.
when I was talking about you experiencing similar to what Cat wasn't abused, but he's trying to expose people, and people are saying that he's a drug addict and he's this, that, and the other, but nobody's calling him a liar.
Right, exactly.
Like, not
And
one.
thank you, Linda. You know, it's a sad thing, but I'm stronger person now to be able to talk about it.
I
Learning to be mindful, learning that I'm not bipolar, that I do have a dissociate disease, but that has to do with the traumas, and it's easier to surround yourself with chaos and drama because that's what you're accustomed to.
See, I appreciate you coming by and discussing it because I know it's not an easy topic to talk about, and that's why I was kind of iffy
Hmm.
about even coming out and talking about this show. But it,
But we need to. More men need to speak up.
yeah,
Okay. You just don't understand. There are more men, children that are violated out there. Or no, I wouldn't say more, but just as many as it is men as it is women. that are being out there and taking their innocence away from them
And
and teaching them that this is what love is, and that's
it's not
not what love is.
it's not just sexual abuse. Like, it is extremely bad, but abuse in general.
The
There's a
mind control.
there's a stigma that men can't be abused or they should just get over it.
Right.
And that's not true. We are humans just like everyone else.
Suck it up. Don't cry about it. To be a man about it.
Yeah.
You are being a man about it. You're
How many
letting your
men
emotions.
being a man is being in tune with your emotions and being able to say, "Hey, I'm having a bad day and here's why. Hey, I'm drowning." It's being open about your feelings. And yeah, there are some moments where it does, to some people, get annoying that the person keeps complaining about the situation, but we're not in their shoes. We got to be a little more sympathetic.
No, it's just like I was telling one of my helpers yesterday. We all can be traumatized the same way by the same thing. And every one of us are going to feel a different emotion about the situation.
Yeah.
And every one of us is going to feel a little different about it or indifferent about it or seeing it in a different light, as I
That's
might
like Jeanette McCurdy's book, and you should read it. It's she was an actress in iCarly. She said for years, like, her mom was pretty much pimping her out to Hollywood, and she just thought she loved her mom. She thought that was normal and shit. And it took her literally. She said, "Don't bash people at Nickelodeon that are defending Dan because they was children. They don't realize they was being abused at the time. It took Jeanette 5 to 6 years to finally realize, hey, this ain't right."
Right. Well, at first, what people don't understand is that, I was the second oldest grandchild. There's only one grandchild older than me by 2 months.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? There's a 2 month jump, but I'm the only girl. So, first it comes out with all the praise and the presents and the little dresses. My mom would dress us up in dresses and parade for Papa because Papa enjoyed us when we were all dressed up. And Papa would give Mom whatever Mom wanted. You know what I mean? Financially, what my mom and dad needed, this and that. And people don't look at it as what they're really doing. They really just thought, Papa's over and he thinks the girls are cute, and then he's helping mom and dad out because they're struggling, you
Yeah, but
know.
looking back though, and even from my lens, you gotta at least admit that
I'm
it
so sorry,
sounds.
Linda.
You gotta admit that it sounds. Sorry, Linda. I did
Shady
see
as
your message.
fuck.
It sounds very predatorial.
Yeah, I was like, ooh.
Like back then, it might not have seemed like much to some people, but hearing your story, that sounds very predatorial. Like,
Okay, so
Yeah.
I want everybody that has ever had anything, their homework is the body keeps the score.
mhm.
It is a 15-hour audio. You can get it off of Amazon, um, from their little audio store or whatever that is. But it's the body keeps the score. And it is a doctor giving you a documentary story over all the mental health about PTSD, about trauma, and about how they thought the person that was going to hurt your kids was a stranger, and that there's no way your mom or your dad or your brother. Yes, it's an audible. That's the only way I got through it. 15 hours. Okay, I'm not a reader,
Mm,
but I
me
can turn a book
neither.
on.
Book's
You
easy to
know,
turn on. That's what I do. I do audibles. Like, I don't mind reading, but continue your story though. I'm sorry.
but the body keeps the score will make you question your doctors, will make you question everything that you've ever learned in your mental health and your treatment. And then when you go through this, you go, oh, that's the reason why that stupid idiot did it that way. Hang on one second. I think my Skylar's here.
Well, people don't realize that even if you have a diploma, doesn't mean you can't be a creep. You can't be fucking like.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I don't trust doctors. Like, I trust them to like diagnose somewhat, but I don't trust them because what they do is called a practice. Like, why the fuck would I go see you if you're practicing?
Well, when the Rockefellers control what you do and that you can only use the pharmaceutical, that's the reason why they say holistic medicine is not real medicine because there's no money in holistic health. You see what I mean? But that's wrong. I bought pain sticks last night. I bought all kinds of stuff at holistic medicine. We 100% believe, because if our forefathers were able to heal people and live for hundreds of years, you know, with herbs from, come on, I got them little white flowers right now because nobody's mowed the lawn. So, technically they're weeds, but we
Uh-huh.
all know they're edibles. And the honeybees were in my backyard just like loving. I had all kinds of butterflies and bees back there, They was just making loves. They
You
was
know what's
having a
wild?
gale.
Going back to holistic medicine, I had a friend tell me recently that she wasn't really a friend of mine. It was a friend of a friend. You know how that works. But we were all hanging out at her house, and she was like, she had, I think, cervical tumor. I don't know if it was cancerous, but it was a cervical tumor.
Right?
And a friend of hers gave her this oil, and she said, only do a leafy green diet for about 2 months. Only leafy greens and vegetables. No fruit or anything, because cancer eats off sugar,
Sugar.
Sugar. Yeah.
even from fruit. So she did a no meat diet, pretty much just beans, nuts, and all that shit, and then leafy greens. Her tumor went from this big to this big.
Oh
And then
wow.
remember, cancer can't live in a high alkaline body. So a
Yeah,
lot of
alkaline
citrus
water.
alkaline. Yeah, it has. It's crazy, But see, that's like with me being a hemp vendor. Okay, so with them trying to turn this all recreational here, they're trying to bind all the hemp vendors, that we can only put 3 milligrams of hemp in any product, and it can only have 5 milligrams per serving. So, when you get a little bottle, I'm sorry, my hand's not good today,
You're
but when
good.
you get a little bottle of tincture like this, it's got 1,000 milligrams of CBD and 1,000 milligrams of CBG. Well, now that's going to be a controlled substance here in Florida. If
But,
yeah, so if 1698 goes through, so vote no on 1698, people. Vote no
well, that's the
1698.
thing, though, is this oil I was telling you about my friend that cured their cancer. They weren't sure what that oil was, but they said looking back, it had to have been RSO.
Yeah, because so many people underestimate the power of RSO. They really do. If you mix RSO, which is AKA THC, and you mix it with CBD and a CBG and
And
a
CBN.
CBC, CBC being the most important, but it has to be combined with 3 other cannabinoids. It can't be just 1 or 2. It needs 3 cannabinoids to mix with your cannabinoid in your body. And it has been known to cure cancer and deteriorate tumors.
I like how our topic went from creeps and Nickelodeon to curing cancer.
Okay, well, right now my young lady just got off work and she's really freaking tired. And I got to go unload the car. So if you guys are still live, I will come back.
All right. Much love,
Okay.
Carrie. Thank you for
All
swinging
right.
by and telling us your story. Much love.
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.
And I love you too,
She's
Linda.
lovely.
Now, what I am going to say here is I don't like the whole going back to Nickelodeon and even predatory behavior in general. I don't I don't even like it when adults are predatory towards other adults.
Yeah.
Just don't. I don't like it. It's one thing to find somebody appealing and be like, "Hey, I find you appealing," and them saying, "No, I don't like you," and then stopping. It's another thing for somebody to say, "Hey, I'm into you," and them saying no, and then you either A, insulting them, or B, just continuing. Like the conversation should stop there, or not. The conversation shouldn't. You could continue a friendship, but in a sexual way or anything beyond friendship, just stop there.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. Unless the person changes their mind, but that's up to them to communicate that. But like, even this whole
Definitely,
Nickelodeon,
but like let's get controversial here.
we are getting
Nine
controversial.
times, 9 times out of 10, it's a fucking man.
What do you mean?
That is the assaulter.
Well,
that
yeah,
is the person that's
that's not
touching children.
controversial.
That's
I've
like,
witnessed with my own eyes in my own existence people that I thought were better than that treating women that way. Like
yeah,
going towards them, like, hey, or even being very sexual towards them and them declining and then them getting defensive and calling them assholes and shit and like being dicks towards them. Like, no, like,
hmm
I don't know. I guess it's an ego trip for some people, but I don't know, man. Like predators exist in all forms, and it's something that we should hold people accountable for, I guess. Like I understand like some people have a sexual sense of humor. I
yeah,
do. But like if somebody's not comfortable and they communicate that, then stop, I guess, in
yeah,
a way.
yeah.
But back to Nickelodeon and Disney and all them. Do you think, because I was wondering this, I wonder how many people at Nickelodeon Disney was on Epstein's flight log.
That's a good question.
Because allegedly, the producer and director, and I don't even think this is alleged, I think this is a fact. The producer and director of Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, going back to that,
Yeah,
Sweet Life of Zach and Cody was a show that Brian Peck acted on after he was convicted of being a chomo.
yeah,
The director and producer wrote letters defending Brian Peck in court. But they alleged we didn't hire him. Yeah, but you kept him a job, didn't you? The
yeah,
only reason he got
exactly.
the only reason he got fired was a whistleblower, from my understanding. Like
That's
it's
so frustrating. Like, and then it's like, and I bet you the whistleblower had to stay anonymous because they're going to lose their job in Hollywood if they're
exactly.
known for outing that.
There's people that wouldn't do the documentary or would be hidden, like their face hidden because they were afraid to do the documentary.
Yeah,
And it's awful that happens, bro. Like, why?
yeah,
Like, why would I don't know? And I guess people are afraid they'd lose their job in Hollywood. Uh, but whatever. Uh, it's horrible. Hollywood's a fuck show, man. Literally and figuratively, it's a fuck show.
yeah,
And there's a lot of fucked up shit, and it's all coming to light. And
yeah.
unfortunately, people are going to see that, and it's going to be unfortunate. And Pink and I was wondering, me and
hmm
you, how about me and you go live again very soon instead of like wait until Monday? Because I like your face. I like seeing you. I like hanging out with you. I was thinking about going over to the Clapper sometime soon, just to hang out, not have a topic.
Yeah, I don't get any views on clappers, so
It's not about the views. I don't get well. I reached, and this actually blew my fucking mind. But my 90-day reach on Facebook recently was 50,000 people,
okay.
and I'm like, holy shit! Like
Yeah.
maybe I should quit being fucking weird. But no, I'm gonna keep being weird on Facebook. But I guess what the message is here is like, no matter how powerful these people are, we need to hold them accountable. They
Yeah.
need to be, and the negative, the big negative, the crime is a very big negative, but the negative is when people try to demonize these kids or these people and saying, "Why didn't you come out sooner?" They couldn't. They were
Yeah.
powerless. These people had the money. They had the power. They had these people terrified.
Yeah.
Recently, Gabriel Iglesias, a famous comedian, came forward and said, "Oh yeah," he's like, "I was on all that. I ended up getting injured on an episode. They had me afraid I'd never have a job in Hollywood if I didn't sign this form." And the form basically is they didn't. They have no. It's not their fault that he was injured, and then they turned around and fired him anyway. Yeah, and
Okay.
that's what these businesses do.
Yeah.
So fuck them. Brady and Fuzzy did a show on that. Yes,
Mm.
go check out Useless Reality. They are incredible. They cover a lot of like controversial topics and shit like this. I need to do their show eventually. I'm just not really off on Wednesdays. They normally do it on Wednesdays. By the way, Pink Sock Podcast will not
And oh, sorry.
Pink Sock Podcast will not be able to go live for probably a month on Mondays because my workplace doesn't listen to me. Talking about corporate businesses, I told them I can only work 12 to 8 on weekdays and gave them a 3-month in advance of it, and they continue to schedule me 3 to 11s. So I'm going to do my best.
Yeah, we can just throw it out on your Facebook page and let people know a day ahead.
Yeah,
And
that's what I'm
we'll
going to
do
do.
random pink
It's
stock.
aggravating when you've worked with a company and you work as hard as you can, and they told you when you get hired that, hey, we will work around your dreams, we'll work around your aspirations, we'll do this, we'll do that, and it's all false promises. It's all empty promises. The people that make salary are not expected to step up and work the positions if you are not able to work. And it's bullshit. It's corporations, man. And it's horrible, but it is
Yeah.
what it is. Ignore the problems if it doesn't cost you money is basically how corporates work, and they don't care. And that's what we're learning with this whole Nickelodeon thing. Everything
Yep.
has a big circle, by the way. I circle everything back around. But um, I'm hoping to start making money off of doing this because I'm getting tired of it, man. I'm getting tired, Pink.
Yeah, that's fair.
But what would you like to add to this conversation before we wrap her up?
I would like to confirm that Drake was telling the truth and everything when he was talking about the way the police handled it.
Mm-hmm.
And they, when I was sexually assaulted by a friend of 15 years, um, they made me go through every detail, as well as how big did he feel when he was grinding it against your leg. Like, it was horrible. It was horrible. I'd have to relive it. And then they had a man listening in another room when they had a female interviewing me. And then she goes, I'll be right back and to confer with my colleague if there's anything that I missed. And she came back and she said the only thing he wanted to know was if you did anything to provoke him to do this, to lead him on. And it's like,
Even if you did, consent is consent.
yeah, I was like, go fuck yourself. Like, I told him no 3 times, and it didn't matter. And it was like, what the fuck? Like,
What's crazy about Drake's story is it kind of coincides with Corey Feldman's story. Corey Feldman went to the authorities allegedly to talk about the actual abusers in Hollywood, and they said if it's not Michael Jackson, we don't care
wow.
because they were after Michael Jackson at the
Yeah.
time. And
And
yeah,
they couldn't get anything, like,
but yeah,
except for,
that's fucked up. Cops are like that. Like, did you do anything to provoke them? Fuck off. Like, consent's consent. Like, go fuck yourself.
yeah,
Even if
yeah.
like you're both consenting adults at first, and then you tell him, "Hey, I'm not feeling this," and then he says, "Oh, come on," then keeps trying. That's still assault.
There was no leading on. Like, we watched a movie and then we were watching um a comedy show, and then I was gonna go to sleep and it was like on, there was nowhere else. Okay. Like, he had 2 love seats. One was beside a freezing, like literally freezing door because we're in Ontario here.
Yeah, it's cold.
So,
Isn't it?
and the other one was like ripped and stained with like mustard and pizza sauce and like really freaking gross. And I was like, oh my God. And he didn't even have a, like, he didn't even have a kettle or anything to make tea water, like, 'cause I wanted something to drink and he didn't have anything to drink. So I wanted to make tea, and so I had to use a pot to boil water in, and it was like, this is so ghetto, but whatever. And then, so I'm like, so are we like sleeping in the same bed? Because I was staying the night, and then I was supposed to go back home in a different city afterwards. And he was like, yeah, if you're okay with that. And I was like, oh, okay. And like we had our space, like, so it was like a decent sized bed. I don't know. But anyways, and then I turned the wall, and I was like pretending to sleep, and then I finally turned like into the middle, like facing up, and then he grabbed me and turned me the rest of the way and was like forcefully banking it with me. And when I was like pushing away and he's grinding against me, he goes, oh, but you owe me another kiss, and goes in for more,
That
and then molested me for 6 hours.
that's fucking wild that he thought that you owed him something. And
Yeah.
that's a reoccurring
And I
theme
like,
for
I
me.
was like, no, I pushed him away, like, and I said no again, and it was like, that's three no's. Like,
Yeah.
it
If
was
that
fucked.
was baseball, he'd be out of there. No.
Yeah, exactly.
That's thank you for sharing your story, and I know it's difficult,
Yeah.
but I appreciate you being able to do that, and I hope you found relief in your life and are able to overcome the trauma that has caused. I know you never fully overcome it,
Mm.
but I do.
Well, where I came out earlier with the whole they don't deserve an apology, I did. The police contacted me and they were like, he has an apology letter that he wrote for you. And I said, you can tell him that I declined it.
Well, no, I'm not saying that
Like,
somebody
I
who
was like,
no,
no.
I think you misunderstood what I meant. What I meant was, in Dan Schneider's case, he didn't, so far that we know, he didn't actually assault anyone. He was just inappropriate on set. He was yelling
Yeah,
at people, this, that, the other, mistreated employees. That's different than what you went through and what Drake went through. Brian Peck does
yeah,
not deserve an apology. Dan Schneider, as far as what's came out and what is known, there's a lot of allegations, there's a lot of things that people are jumping to assumptions of. But what has
yeah,
come forward so far in this docuseries, Dan, if he wants to apologize, he should do it to the people, not fucking on a podcast.
yeah,
To somebody who didn't go through what he put these people through.
yeah, exactly.
The apology should be accepted or declined by the people, not the public eye. He's literally
Yeah.
apologizing to the public that did not experience it. That is not how an apology
He's
works.
doing it for the views. Like,
Yeah.
it's.
He's doing it for the public. You should never apologize to the public unless the public was affected.
Shut up.
But I
The dogs are
appreciate
very opinionated.
you're good. I appreciate you doing this show, and I appreciate you talking about this. Linda,
Yeah,
thank you
thank
so
you.
much for listening. I'd like to shout out Carrie with Carrie's Kitchen. W Pot's kind of slow on the up and up, but we are working on getting something out there. We just have a lot of ideas we're passing around, and we have a meeting tomorrow about it.
Yes, we do. Thank you for
Yes, we do.
reminding me.
I completely forgot myself.
Yeah,
But guys, keep your eyes out open for that. If you are into stand-up comedy, I hate to leave this on a negative note. So if you're into stand-up comedy, I do stand up. Usnick.com is my website. I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to be doing the stand-up style of comedy because I enjoy skits and shit. And stand-up is just, I did an open mic recently, and I think I did fairly well. Shout out to Kyle Frazier for putting that on. And I might do open mics here and there, but I think my comedy and me as a person shines more when I'm not trying to be funny, or when I'm not like genuine shit. You know what I mean? Not
Yeah.
written. I have issues writing comedy, and that kind of shown at my last special, which is fine. Not my special, but my last stand-up show, which is fine. I do great doing stand-up. I'm not dissing
You're good
myself,
on the fly.
but I'm
Like,
better on the fly. That's why I don't write
yeah.
when I do stand-up. I don't write.
Every show's unique. That's your tagline. Boop.
Well, not every show's unique. Like there are some stories that I'll pull out if I got nothing else to talk about.
Yeah.
And there's some things that I'll say. Like my last comedy show, I did mention the Nickelodeon debacle.
There.
But I appreciate you, Linda. My comedy,
Aw, that's very nice.
I do admit, and this is something that's hard for me to face. I have offended people in the past. I have made people uncomfortable with my comedy in the past. I have my comedy has been viewed as disrespectful, and that's never my intention as an improv comic. But sometimes it gets perceived that way. And I have apologized to the people individually that have come forward, but that's never my intention. But it happens in comedy.
Yeah.
And I admit when my jokes go too far. I admit when I've said some off the wall shit, but I never come from a place of ill pute. I've never came from a place of negativity. It's more so just how my comedy is. I don't take life too seriously, and I try not to, but I also
Yeah.
don't want to offend people. And it's hard in comedy, and you need to let that go, because you can apologize to that person, but you shouldn't have to apologize for every fucking joke you tell, especially if you're on a comedy stage. In private life, that's different. If I offend you in private life, like I want people to be comfortable telling me, hey, I didn't like that joke, or I don't like the way you said that, whatever, so that I know not to joke
Well,
that way towards you individually.
a lot of comedy, it should be shock value
It should.
and things like that.
Like,
So saying things that are shocking
well, like
go with the comedy,
I
right?
will
Like it,
I will hit on my male friends. It's not serious at all,
that's
but I have made a
silly. That's
couple.
flamboyant, like
Well, I've had
fun,
some
you
male
know?
friends, and not one in particular. There's been several over the years. I've had male friends, not necessarily friends all the time, but male colleagues, male people that I know get
Mhm.
get offended or upset when I jokingly hit on them, and after they've communicated it, I stop. Sometimes it accidentally comes out, but it's like I don't mean it. Like
Yeah.
I'm a straight
You're
male.
like, I'm not gonna follow through.
I'm not gonna follow through, but you're handsome. Like, why can't you?
Not gonna,
I'm not gonna actually fuck you, but like, if there's a chance, call me. No, I'm just kidding. But
yeah,
but like, no, like, I don't know. The hot dogs at work was fun. I got
yeah.
in trouble. It could have been considered inappropriate, but
Did you eat all of them after?
no, that's when I started my diet.
Uh,
Like, I don't like this anymore. My diet went straight.
yeah.
What do you think of the new microphone, by the way?
That's fancy.
Shout out to Katie. Katie is amazing. She's an artist and everything else. But yeah, like that's kind of why I don't sympathize with Dan, because a lot of the shit Dan did was very wrong. It was towards children. It was horrible. He treated people like shit. But if he was around adults and made like one sexual joke and it was inappropriate and he apologized and stopped, then I would sympathize with him. But he kept doing it. He was their boss. It's just all wrong.
Yeah.
Because I know some comedians that, have gotten in trouble for some inappropriate shit that was not intended to be taken that way, but that's different. And I don't think we should demonize people for one misstep. But somebody like Dan Schneider should be for what he did. But yeah, like comedy's subjective, man. And don't go to a comedy club if you're easily offended. I went to an open mic night and I was worried about offending people until I heard the other comedians. I'm like, shit,
Yeah.
I gotta up it a little bit. So I don't think I'm gonna reuse this joke, but I opened with, I'm not one to kink shame.
Yeah.
I'm also not one to judge you for a foot fetish. However, Dan Schneider. Well, that's how I open. But no, like, how didn't Nickelodeon know this dude had a foot fetish and had this like weird obsession with children's feet? Because the Nickelodeon
Yeah.
logo for the longest time was a fucking foot.
Yeah.
And no, I don't apologize, Linda, for the jokes I tell, nor will I ever apologize for a joke I've told. I apologize for the way the person mistook me, and I apologize if it did offend them. But unless like I say some off the wall shit that I don't actually fully mean and I just thought it was funny at the time and it was insensitive, then maybe I'd apologize. But all is fair in love and war. My fucking stomach hurts. I ate a shit ton today, so like I'm hurting. God
Oh,
damn.
gotta have a poo.
I'm gonna have a poo, a nice healthy poo. I ate beans and all kinds of shit. But anyway, Pink, thank you for doing this. We're gonna call it an
Yeah.
episode. We're gonna dive more into shit next week, and we will be doing lives again here
Hmm.
shortly. We'll announce them an hour or two before, or even not an hour or two before, but like a day before, or 12 hours before, whatever. But keep your
Yeah.
eye out on for Pink Sock. I'm trying to be consistent, but corporate America makes it impossible. I love what comes out of your mouth. You should see what comes in it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
Sorry.
I
I'll
don't
try
know.
not to come in your face.
No, you're allowed. You're a woman. I'm straight. Men can't.
Oh, right. Right.
No diddy.
Okay. Fine.
That's the new no homo. No diddy. But I love y'all, and as always, live long, rock hard.